Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into an ancient story that has, believe it or not, a powerful, super modern message about burnout, despair, and where we find our true strength.
Okay, so let's start with a question. When you picture a hero, especially, a spiritual one, what comes to mind? Probably someone who's just flawless, right? Unshakable, perfect, with this unbreakable connection to the divine.
And in some traditions, you've got these figures who seem to be exactly that. 3 of them famously skipped a normal death and just ascended directly to heaven. I mean, these guys are the gold standard. But the story of one of them completely shatters that whole myth of perfection.
Yep, we're talking about the prophet Elijah. And his story is this fascinating, wild ride of contrast between his incredible public power and his absolutely crushing private pain.
So, on Mount Carmel, Elijah is the man. He's the absolute picture of divine power. He calls down fire from a clear sky. I mean, come on. He's a clear victor, and he just seems totally untouchable. This is his highlight reel moment, for sure.
But then, right after this incredible peak experience, that heroic image just crumbles. A single threat from one person sends this mighty prophet literally running for his life. He doesn't stand firm, he flees into the wilderness, completely and totally overwhelmed.
And listen to this. This isn't just fear. This is the voice of complete and total burnout. He's all alone, under a tree in the middle of nowhere, asking to die. It's such a raw, shocking moment of despair from the hero we thought was perfect. And honestly, it's a cry that many of us might even recognize in our own darkest moments.
And this right here illustrates the central conflict perfectly. It's that huge gap between the heroic myth we think we should be and the often messy, complicated human reality we actually live in. The highlight reel versus the behind the scenes.
So he's officially hit rock bottom. And it's right here, in this moment of total collapse, that a divine encounter happens. But it is nothing like what you would expect.
Elijah goes to the mountain of God, and first there's this massive, rock-shattering wind. It's a classic sign of power and spectacle, right? But the divine presence isn't there.
Okay, so then an earthquake shakes the very ground beneath his feet. Another incredible display of force. Still nothing.
And finally, a raging fire. So you've got wind, earthquake, fire, all these symbols of immense, overwhelming power. The very things you'd expect to announce a divine arrival. But they're all empty.
So, where is God in all of this? Well, after the wind, the earthquake, and the fire, after all the noise and the spectacle, that's when the divine presence arrives. The original text uses this absolutely beautiful phrase, semeion sorti, and it translates to a delicate, minute sound, a still, small voice, a gentle whisper. This moment just completely flips the script on our understanding of strength. It suggests that our burnout, our moments of weakness, they aren't failures that we have to hide away in shame. You see, Elijah's raw, honest despair wasn't a barrier to God. It was the entry point. He didn't have to pretend to be strong to be worthy of help. His breakdown actually became the potential for a breakthrough. This story really emphasizes that trying to maintain that image of perfection, of always being okay, is really just a form of lying to ourselves and to a presence that already knows we're struggling. Real connection only begins when we finally admit the truth of how we're doing.
So what does this all mean for us today? Living lives that are just filled with notifications, deadlines, and that constant pressure to perform. How in the world do we hear that gentle whisper in all our noise?
Well, this ancient story actually offers some pretty practical wisdom. It starts by just turning down the external volume to create some space for inner silence. Then, from there, we can start to tune in to the quiet needs of the people around us. And maybe most importantly, we can finally acknowledge our own silence and just be honest with ourselves when we're struggling. Ultimately, Elijah's story teaches us that strength and comfort and real connection often don't arrive in a big thunderclap. They show up in the quietest moments, usually after we finally admitted we need them. So the question for all of us is, in all the noise of our own lives, what gentle whisper are we missing?